We're here with Eli Danze, the Office of Justice Foundation on Babcock in San Antonio. Eli, tell us about a little bit about your background and how you come to start working on this project with Stop Planned Parenthood Coalition.
Sure, thank you. Yes, my name is Eli Danze. I'm son of Chris and Sherry Danze, and that's very important because that's where my background is pro-life activism from day one. My father and mother were very active in helping women and babies from early on in pregnancy centers and Gabriel Project and Project Rachel, and praying on the sidewalk and counseling to women from the 80s on. My mother was in what's the organization that barred the doors?
Operation Rescue.
Operation Rescue. She was arrested there in the late 80s and early 90s. So they've stood up for life their entire lives, and so that's where my passion and my background comes in loving kids and babies and women, and fighting evil really is what it is. So their background and giving me that passion is where it comes from, and so my father 10 years ago, 2003, 11 years ago, boycotted Planned Parenthood in Austin. For a year, he shut that clinic down, made it more expensive, got the national press involved, and really gave people in Austin hope that they could fight abortion, fight Planned Parenthood. Starting from one man to 750,000 contractors and suppliers. Thousands of participants joined in prayer and calling contractors. I mean, activism started from there with him, and now that went to Denver, Fort Worth, New Orleans. So there's hope. There's a lot of hope out there, and so that's a little bit on me. I'm a San Antonian citizen now, Catholic Christian, pro-life activist. I have a family, wife and 3 kids, and so that's what I fight for.
How did you get involved with this Planned Parenthood expansion?
Through the several pro-life organizations here in town. I mean, I've been active with San Antonio Coalition for Life, San Antonio Family Association, others. And when they started the coalition, Stop Abortion Coalition here in town, they started calling on me for information and for my father, Chris Danze. And so we started providing them as much as we could. Things really ramped up when the news article broke October 11th of this year, 2014, when Planned Parenthood basically bragged and paraded around about the fact that they would do 2,800 abortions a year at least at this new abortuary. So over the last month, I felt called by God really to become as active and out there as possible in bringing the truth to those working on the facility and helping other people be proud of standing up for life in this city. And standing up for life and against death. That's really what brought me in.
Mm. So you had a specific approach with the contractors. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, you know the address, so you found as much information on the address as you can. Permits, you can go online. I mean, this is all public information from the city. Who's pulling permits? They publicize themselves. Lou John Construction, the general contractor. So once you know those pieces of information, the address, the building permits, the contractor, and then you can find out who the subs are just by going on the site, looking at the trucks, just starting to ask around, obviously through San Antonio Family Association, San Antonio Coalition for Life. They had more information than I did, so we shared information. So a lot of this is personal relationships within the pro-life community. That's really where a lot of this activism started on this clinic. But as soon as you know who the players are as far as the contractors, you need to start gathering their contact information and disseminating that out to your troops, to the people that are going to make active calls and emails and contacting these contractors face to face or by letters. I mean, so that's really where I wanted to help. We can find out the information, disseminate that to our people, and then start making contact with these contractors, making them aware of what was going on, because as you may not be aware, Planned Parenthood deceived the contractors from the very beginning that this is not a Planned Parenthood clinic, that it was just a random development. And so these contractors are in these contracts without knowing that they're working on an abortion facility, which at the very heart of it is a lie. And so they're working on a facility that is going to kill babies, and they need to know that. And so that was a part of the passion for me getting involved as well. But it's very simple: calling, emailing, visiting. I have visited several contractors, and then letters, which is a very simple thing to do.
Tell us more about what happened with the one contractor here that pulled off the job, Capodanno Electric.
We've discovered that Capodanno Electrical was Christian from, it seems, 3 or 4 weeks ago, from the very beginning. When you start calling on them and asking questions, are you Christian, are you pro-life, they'll answer yes or no. And so we knew from the very beginning that he was a man of Christ and a family of Christ. And so we've asked him to leave the job several times in that period, and he did not do so. So when you find that information out, you got to dig deeper and learn more about them, because, as my father said, it's personal or financial pressure, and again, it's for life. So even though you're putting a little bit of personal pressure or finding out personal or financial information as far as pressure, that's still important, because we're still going to save babies. So what I did is starting doing research on their background, on who they're affiliated with. I found out that the wife, Jamie Capodanno, is Christian and a pastor at a local church, a Grace Point church here in town, and that Bo is a friend of a friend of a local Christian man that leads C12 Group, which is a Christian group for business owners and CEOs to share business information. So through that contact of mine, I said, contact Bo. He's working on this facility. Ask him to leave the job, or start asking him questions about why he's working there. And he said, sure, I'll do that. And then on the other angle, I reached out to Grace Point Church, sent an email directly to Jamie and the other pastors there, and made them aware of what was going on and encouraging them to leave the facility. And once that happened, within a 4-day span, literally 4 days, from Thursday morning to a Sunday afternoon, they're off the job. So 4 weeks' time, random pro-lifers calling and emailing and visiting them, versus a 4-day time of a personal contact, making contact, and a pastor being aware through email. That's where we made the biggest impact. Finding that personal contact and then contacting them because of that church affiliation. So that was a huge victory for us.
Have you heard anything back from the Capodanno folks or the church involved here? So the church was able, members of the church were able to assist.
Right, the elders.
Influencing.
My friend was an elder at the church. It just so happens I didn't know that, but he was an elder at the church, so he had some influence with the pastors, and they all got together and convened for 4 days apparently. So other than the fact that I know they've given up all revenues and profits to the facility, so they have $0 participation, which is a victory for them and for us. I mean, that's something to be proud of. That's something to be praised. Number two, they are for life, this church and the Capodanno family. They have made that clear. But number three is they gave the revenues back to the general contractor, unfortunately, because the general contractor refuses to leave the job. We have asked them to give that to a pro-life organization or pro-life group to save babies and help mothers and men that are suffering from abortion. But they have said no, they're going to give the money back to general contractors. So we're still working that angle to get that money to go to a good for-life organization. But at this time, I have no other information about Capodanno.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if there's any other activity in terms of approaching the other contractors, subcontractors?
Yeah, I mean, we continue to contact them by email and phone calls and letters. Other than that, we still trying to find out research on them. I still research their customer base, contact their customers. I research what city they're in and what churches are affiliated with them in those cities. So I found out a little bit of information about Bear Waste, Team Mechanical of Texas, and another contractor in the Braunfels area, Enterprise Fire and Safety. And through my research on Facebook and LinkedIn, I've discovered they are affiliated with some of those churches through the grapevine, and I've made contact with those churches. I haven't heard anything back yet, but it's an ongoing process of actively contacting these groups, these churches, and these contractors. So you never give up. You can't give up.
Sounds like you're a one-man marine assault team here, Eli.
You know, one evening I spent researching pro-life groups in Texas. I researched emails for the archdiocese in Texas, and I researched pro-life groups around the nation. And I sent an email out saying, "Dear pro-lifers and Christians across Texas and the nation, we need your help." I heard very little responses, but again, you can't give up. So over the next week, I sent out 15 emails to different pastors and church communities in New Braunfels and Seguin and Schertz, and I'm still contacting them saying, "Dear Pastor so-and-so, we need your help. Encourage this contractor to get off the job. He's in your city. Here's his contact info," et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah.
Boycott plan. Is there any thoughts about that in terms of boycotting specific contractors who've been contacted and then, are obstinate in?
Yeah, I mean, we've made the statements and declared to them that they were on a boycott list. They are on a website called bloodmoneysa.com, which publicizes their information or posts their information and a phone script and email script for people to use to contact them. That's part of a larger yearly plan, is to put contractors and suppliers for death on the website and on a list, and make that known to the community, because again, that's financial pressure, and that's one way to get a contractor off a job or a company off a job, is financial pressure.
But they may lose new business elsewhere,
right?
Because they're on a boycott list on a pro-life site.
Kelly Greshel with San Antonio Coalition for Life recently emailed and said that her church is building a new building, and her pastor will not use the contractors that are on this boycott list. That's a $6 million project. So that's one example of losing future business. But that's part of a larger plan, is to get these churches and these pro-life communities and groups and people on board saying, we will not support these contractors, we will not call on them. And there's enough Christian Catholic businesses in town, I think, that would join us in being on a for life list and an against death contractors list.
Yes, there was that idea, that plan, that the flip side of the boycott list of contractors who we should not give new business to,
right,
is the list of those who are pro-life, who are unabashedly pro-life, who we should support. So you could virtually have two lists. Here's the list you go to if you need a contractor. Here's the list that you avoid.
Absolutely.
So there's also a positive aspect of, yes, you need a contractor, but here's a list of contractors who have agreed that they will never support any building of abortion facilities or,
absolutely,
promoting,
I would think churches and pro-life groups and others would jump on the opportunity to use a pro-life contractor if they knew that they were public about that, and against using one that was for Planned Parenthood, for death. So that's a good point. Yeah.
So, in terms of anybody who's listening to you in this interview and wants to participate and be more involved, do you have any thoughts about that? Any advice about what they can do and where they would go for information? Like if they want to write contractors or whatever, where is that information available?
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple. Number one, we attribute this boycott and all of our activities to our Mother Mary, Our Lady of Guadalupe, who really does miracles when you trust in her, put your faith in her, and pray to her. Number two is tie your sacrifices and your work to Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for us, and so and lifting up our prayers and everything to Him, and praying for the souls of purgatory. Really, aside from that, it's very simple. Once you make a decision in your mind's eye and in your heart to stand for life, You can do something as simple as praying on the sidewalk at 2140 Babcock, San Antonio, Texas. You can do something as simple as praying for these contractors at your own home or in your own community. But if you want to go above and beyond that, which I feel called to do, is to make contact with them. And again, the website's bloodmoneysa.com. But San Antonio Coalition for Life is very pro-life here in town, and they are gathering troops to pray on the sidewalk and be active. But all the phone numbers and emails are listed on that website that I mentioned. Their addresses if you want to send them letters. But we have to be active, and that's the point we're making, is active participation in this boycott is what's going to bring these contractors to the light and saying, wow, San Antonio's for life. San Antonio Catholics and Christians are stepping up. I mean, how many are there in San Antonio? I imagine a large majority of people are Christian or pro-life in this city, are Catholic and pro-life in this city, and we have to reach them, and they have to make that decision to stand for life. Info@bloodmoneysa is our email. You're welcome to email us and ask us any questions. We're on Twitter and LinkedIn as well, bloodmoneysa, Twitter and Facebook.
What's the website address again?
Bloodmoneysa.com. On Facebook at bloodmoneysa. And
That's
Twitter,
for information.
and Twitter at bloodmoneysa. Yes, we post all the contractors' pictures, their phone numbers and email addresses. We post the new contractors that are coming up, the names of the ownerships and their emails. So it's very simple to get involved.
And San Antonio Coalition for Life, their website again, please?
SACFL.org. SACFL.org. San Antonio Coalition for Life. Yes.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make one point about the researching the personal connections with these contractors. That may seem a little bit above and beyond, but at the same time, these contractors are not going to leave just by random pro-lifers contacting. They're going to have to leave by personal connections. That's how Capodanno left, is someone researching LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and finding out who they know, who knows them, what school they went to, what university, who's their pastor, who's their church. Once you find that information, that's huge, because they're going to have a personal connection with that contractor, and that contact may know them, may have a personal connection with them, and then make contact with that person and ask them to be on your side to help. Otherwise, it's financial pressure. Right now, we're gathering the list of names and churches that are on our side, but financially, we don't have enough firepower. We need it. We're going to get there, but the personal connection is where we're going to make the most impact right now. That's my final thought. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Eli.